Yeah,
I want to get into in Razor 3, your book, you talk about when you're in Iraq, there's a hostage rescue mission that unfolds for about 20, 24. Were they Iraqis being
they
rescued?
were. They were Rockies. Yeah.
And this part of your book really stood out to me because you talk about, and I'm gonna let you say it because you'll explain it, but the way these hostages have been treated. So could you explain what year this is in the war in Iraq so the audience gets an idea of how hot things are? And then two, why was this scene so disturbing to you?
Well, time wise, without looking at my notes, I think it's 2006, 2007 timeframe. Because I didn't get to Iraq until then. I was always more of an Afghanistan guy. We get there, and it might have been closer to '07, but my ground force at the time is the Rangers. And we're doing what's called an offset infill. We're going after one of the big things we were doing is you may remember at the time in the news, there was all these vehicle borne improvised explosive devices, VBIDs, right? And they were in
Yeah.
the news every night. And I remember General McChrystal saying to us, guys, this tactical problem is now strategic level. We have to stop it from getting on the news. In other words, we've got to eliminate that threat. So we're hitting everything we can to get the bomb makers and such. Also at the time, there's a guy you may remember named Zarqari, right?
Zarqawi, yes, yes,
Right. He was the head of Al Qaeda in Iraq, now ISIS, and he was cutting off people's heads
yes.
and putting videos on. So he was even Al Qaeda, the main element, said, "Hey, look, you're too violent even for us." And he's like, "Oh, well, screw you then. I'll do it on my own." So the hunt was on for him, right? And that was a big deal to get him. Um, so what we're doing in this case, I'm flying with the Rangers out of Balad Air Base north of Baghdad, and we're doing offset infills. So the idea is you put the ground force in early in the cycle of darkness, 6 to 10 kilometers away, depending on how fast they can walk based on the terrain, the distance and stuff. And even at that distance, depending on the wind, the enemy might hear you, right? But the thing is this, the guy in this one house, this bad guy that you're going after, the target, is not the only bad guy in the neighborhood, if you will, right? So they hear a helicopter. You can watch it on you can watch it on the pred feeds or the ISR. Uh, all these different targets, if you will, come active. As the guards get alert, and the guards are like, they got their guns pointed down, outward to protect, but nobody comes because the ground force is taking their time and they're just strolling in from 6, 7, 8 kilometers away, and you can watch the enemy let their guard down, because it might not be them, right?
Right.
And so they go, sling arms, and then they set down the arms, and then they lay down and they go to sleep. Especially in the summer, they'll sleep on the roof, they'll sleep on the ground, and we'll go. The ground force will get there. They'll cordon the objective. They'll get around it. So if anybody squirts off, and it's a quiet thing, sometimes they'll do what they call a call out. They get a loudspeaker and it's like, hey, come out, we're surrounded, you're surrounded. And sometimes they come out and sometimes they fight, right? Or sometimes they breach or they climb up on the roof. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to the target to go down, but that's what this particular night was. And once the target is secure, you start what they call sensitive site exploitation, or SSE. And that's to look for, computers, documents, uh, names, interrogations, right? Tactical interrogation, or tactical questioning, as they call it now, to be a little more kind. Um, and what happened was one of the bad guys like, hey, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. Just don't hurt me. As a matter of fact, I know about a torture chamber down the road, right? And oftentimes that kind of intel will drive us to what we call a follow-on target, and we'll regroup and we'll just go do it. Well, in this case, it sounded a little more elaborate, especially with the number of hostages, and some of them were supposed to get their heads cut off. Apparently, that next night.
So are these hostages held by Zarqawi's people?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, not
Yeah.
perfect. That's not a good thing. I'm
Well,
saying
right. No, but
let's set the scene.
it sets up what's going on here. So they're Iraqis that were helping us, or they were police officers or something like that. So he's trying to intimidate the rest of the Iraqi population by doing this. And so we go back the next night with the intention of taking down, the hostage rescue. And instead of an offset info, now we're flying to the X. So I'm going to put the aircraft right next to the target building, and we're going to land in whatever pattern that the ground force would like us to do to make their assault easier. So we come flying in there, and the ISR is overhead looking at it, and like, all right, you got a couple of people on the roof, a guard roving on the west side or whatever. And we come in there, and now keep in mind, it's very dusty. And when you get next to a Chinook in the dust, it hurts. The sand pelts you, you're getting sand blasted. And if you're not wearing goggles, you can't see. Right. So if you're just some average guard out there at night and it's pitch black, and all of a sudden a Chinook comes whipping in, lands next to you, you're not standing there going, I'm going to shoot him. You kind of, you cover over like this. So we did that. And I basically dragged my landing gear across the top of the TV antennas and such, and landed right next to the building. About the rotor blades are about 30 feet long on a Chinook, and I landed about 35 feet from the building. So it was really close. And that, the ramp comes down, the Rangers come out, they took the place, they flew, they flow through the building over the top, whatever they got to do. And I can't remember the number off the top of my head without looking at my notes, but it was like 20 something people that had been tortured. And this was stuff that actually made Fox News about a week later. I still have the online version of the print screens of some of the things that like they didn't show the actual things. They showed like the how-to manual, which was sort of like a cartoony, almost like a comic book. And they showed you how to drill into a guy's kneecaps, or hang him from a door on a meat hook, or how to cut off a head or something like that. And we came out of there, all the bad guys fought, nobody came off alive except the hostages. And we landed back in a place called Ramadi, and we let them out. And the aircraft is still running, the ground force comes off, they escort the rescued hostages to a safe area to be debriefed. And I was watching these Iraqis just hug these guys, which just, up until then, I'd never really seen somebody so grateful to see Americans, and it really felt good. Of all the things I did, rescues and Kazovacs have to rate up there as the most, self-satisfying. When you go save somebody, whether it's because someone's going to kill them or because they've been injured, and you got to get them to life-saving, facilities, that really feels good.